In the vaulted chambers of Britain's most storied homes, behind the high hedgerows of Highgrove and the ancestral stones of Balmoral, an unspoken question echoes through the royal corridors. Who will inherit the legacy of King Charles III? Not just his title, but his wealth, his estates, his private symbols of power. Though no official will has been released and no announcements made by Buckingham Palace, the implications of royal inheritance stretch far beyond simple paperwork. It is a question not only of property and privilege, but of hierarchy, loyalty, and the ever-shifting image of monarchy in the modern world. The distribution of this immense fortune, estimated in the hundreds of millions, could mark the next great turning point in the story of the crown. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. The British royal family, by custom and tradition, does not publicly disclose the details of wills. This secrecy extends from monarch to monarch, with Elizabeth II's final wishes locked away by judicial order for 90 years. Yet speculation swirls precisely because of that silence. The absence of information becomes its own kind of signal. With King Charles III now firmly installed as monarch, and with discussions of a streamlined royal household dominating his early reign, many royal observers wonder not only who inherits, but what inheritance means in a dynasty that is shrinking by design. It is well established that Charles inherited the bulk of Queen Elizabeth II's private fortune following her death in 2022. Because sovereign-to-sovereign transfers are exempt from inheritance tax under UK law, this wealth passed to him intact, untouched by the levies faced by ordinary citizens. The Crown estate, of course, is separate. It belongs not to Charles personally, but to the reigning monarch as an institution of state. Yet Charles's private assets, homes, investments, and personal effects represent one of the most significant private fortunes in Europe. And what he chooses to do with them will define not only the financial fate of his descendants, but the moral tone of his reign. Among the properties of note are Highgrove House in Gloucestershire, Clarence House in London, and the vast estates at Balmoral and Sandringham. Highgrove, Charles's long-time country residence, has become a symbol of his personal passions, from organic gardening to architectural conservation. Clarence House, his official residence before ascending the throne, remains closely associated with Queen Camilla. Balmoral and Sandringham, while privately owned, are historic touchstones of royal tradition, deeply embedded in the national imagination. By all accounts, Prince William stands as the most likely heir to these symbolic properties. As the Prince of Wales and the future king, he is poised to inherit not only the title and responsibilities of monarchy, but its material heritage. The Duchy of Cornwall, already in William's hands since Charles's accession, generates significant annual income. Yet the emotional and historical weight of properties like Balmoral may soon also pass to him, cementing his role as the next great patriarch of the House of Windsor. But the story does not end there. For others in the royal orbit, inheritance is more uncertain. Queen Camilla, by virtue of her position and long-standing relationship with Charles, may inherit personal items and possibly even real estate for life use, though many speculate such arrangements would be temporary, reverting back to the crown or to William upon her death. Charles's siblings, Princess Anne, Prince Edward, and the disgraced Prince Andrew, may each receive, or already have received, private legacies from their mother, the late Queen. But whether Charles will augment or redirect those arrangements remains an open question. Prince Harry's situation is especially complex. His decision to step back from royal duties, his relocation to California, and his public criticisms of the institution have deeply altered his relationship with the royal household. Speculation abounds that his share of personal inheritance, if any, may be symbolic rather than substantive. No evidence supports or denies this idea. Only the king knows what provisions he might eventually make for the son he once called his darling boy. For Meghan Markle, the matter is even more speculative. As Harry's wife, she is legally tied to his inheritance, but not necessarily to royal assets beyond him. Her presence in royal matters has always been polarizing, admired by some, condemned by others, and any bequest in her name would likely provoke strong reaction. Yet the monarchy has often used personal gifts as gestures of inclusion or peace. Whether Charles will extend such an olive branch through his will is unknown. Princess Anne and Prince Edward, both working royals who have remained loyal to the institution, may be recognized through private gifts or continued access to royal residences. Their service has been unwavering. Anne, in particular, known as one of the hardest working royals, has earned admiration for her no-nonsense approach and dedication. But titles and honors do not always translate into inheritance, especially when the monarch's vision is one of simplification, not expansion. Prince Andrew stands apart. Stripped of public duties and embroiled in scandal, his future within the family has narrowed to a private existence in Royal Lodge. Whether Charles chooses to provide him financially or symbolically in death may depend not on affection, but on optics. The monarchy today cannot afford appearances of favoritism towards a figure whose reputation has damaged the institution. But what of the broader symbolism? If Charles were to allocate his wealth solely along traditional lines, favoring the heir, rewarding loyalty, punishing scandal, he would be upholding centuries of precedent. Yet there is another possibility, that his will might quietly rewrite expectations, that he might prioritize service over status, discretion over lineage, that the private legacies he leaves will reflect the public values he has championed: sustainability, humility, duty. The palace, predictably, has said nothing, and it likely never will. Royal wills are guarded secrets, their contents revealed only when history permits, but their consequences ripple outward. They shape access to property. They grant or deny the security of a title. They whisper to the next generation what kind of monarch Charles really was, not by his speeches, but by his bequests. And as the monarchy grapples with modern relevance, such whispers matter. In a time of rising economic strain, the sight of palaces and jewels carries a sharper edge. Public sympathy is hard-won. Legitimacy is no longer inherited, it is earned daily through action and restraint. A king's will in this environment becomes more than a document. It becomes a mirror. The inheritance of King Charles III will not be measured solely in properties or trusts. It will be judged by the narrative it reinforces or reshapes. If he leaves everything to William, it will signal continuity. If he leaves something to Harry, it may signal healing. If he withholds from Andrew, it may signal accountability. If he rewards Anne and Edward, it may honor quiet duty. Whatever the outcome, the decision will be made not under duress, but as a reflection of priorities, and it will echo for decades. Because every artifact passed down, every estate, every painting, every locked drawer becomes part of a larger story. The story of what this monarchy chose to preserve and what it chose to change. And perhaps that is the real inheritance. Not the wealth alone, but the values encoded within it. A house is more than bricks, it is a legacy of protection. A title is more than status, it is a promise to serve. A will is more than words, it is the final statement of who a monarch really was. In the silence of those palace walls, behind the antique desks and heirloom pens, a document may already exist, folded away, locked in a safe, waiting for the right time to speak. And when it does, it will not only divide assets, but reveal priorities, illuminate relationships, and define the tone of a reign already under intense scrutiny. If you found this exploration meaningful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Crownverse, where royal history isn't just remembered, but examined, where tradition meets transparency, and where the crown is always more than just a symbol.